Good morning, fifth graders. I am so excited to be able to record this video to provide assistance to our students that are working on packets now going into week 2. So families, just so you're aware, on the top right-hand corner, it will list the date for the assignment that students should be working on. But before I get started, I want to remind you that every day between 11 and 1 p.m. we are handing out grab-and-go lunches here at the school, or you're able to pick it up at any of the bus stops. But also be reminded that you can actually go to any school as long as it's the closest to you. So you don't have to be a student at the school that you go to. You're able to go to any of the schools as long as the student is present with the family. Also, moving into this week, reminding our families that please send a picture of the given assigned pages emailed to the teacher so that the teacher is able to provide a grade to the students that are not online and only working on packets. So we will get started once again. This is for 5th grade reading for the week of Monday, March 30th through April 4th. So for the first assignment that we have going on for today, it is on the poem Night Walk. And for the past week, our 5th graders who have been working in the packet have been focusing on theme. So theme of a poem. And I have provided on here on a slide some of our purpose for reading questions that are highlighted here. And what I want you all to be thinking about as you engage in this activity for this week is I want you to be asking yourself those questions as you are reading the poem. So the first question is, what is the topic of the poem? So I want you to be thinking about, as you're reading through Night Walk, what is it that this poem is focused on? What is that topic? Next, what I want you to be asking yourself, students, is what are the details about the topic? What is the speaker telling you about the topic? And then the next question is, what are the speaker's reflections on the topic? So based off of the evidence, based off specific evidence in the poem, what is the speaker telling you about how he or she may feel or think about that given topic? And then lastly, I want you to be asking yourself as you're reading, what is the theme of this poem? So I'm going to read the first 2 stanzas for you, and I'm going to model my thinking about how I'm going to use these questions to be able to help me find the theme of this poem. The first stanza says, "The sky above, the streets below, the stars reflecting off the snow. A lovely night for us to go out for a walk, the puppy thinks." So I know based off of the first stanza that the puppy is a huge character in this poem. This tells me also what they're doing. So setting, they're about to go to a walk. So the speaker has told me that he or she will be talking about a puppy and about them going on a walk. So that takes care of that first question, what is the topic of the poem, as well as what are some details about the topic. Because that last verse 4 says, "Out for a walk, the puppy thinks." So that right there already lets me know that the topic of the poem is going to involve a puppy. I haven't yet heard anything about the speaker's reflections. So let's see if we hear anything going into the next stanza. Stanza 2, starting with verse 5. "The moon's a brilliant shade of gold, and though she's just a few months old, the puppy knows the night is cold. She leans into the wind and blinks." So I know the speaker at this point is talking about the puppy. Some of the details on that topic are the puppy knows the night is cold. And then it also says she leans into the wind and blinks. So far I've covered verse 1 and verse 2. What I need all of you is to continue working in through stanza 3, stanza 4, stanza 5, 6, and 7. And as you read stanzas 3 through 7, I want you to be thinking about the questions that are listed on the right hand. And the reason why I want you to be thinking of those questions, which are these here, the reason why I want you to be thinking about these questions is because you are going to be writing in the next page, you're going to be responding via a short response. So if you look here, you have a graphic organizer that you're going to fill out. This graphic organizer is going to assist you with generating your short response. What I have done here on the right for you is provided you some sentence starters. For those of you that may be struggling with how do I begin my short response, I have gone ahead and given you some sentence starters to be able to help you respond to the short response. So what you may begin with, the topic described in Night Walk is, and you want to state what the topic was about in the poem. The next sentence starter that I've given you is the speaker reflects on the topic by, and this is an opportunity for you to state how the speaker is thinking or feeling about the topic. And then lastly, I have provided you 2 additional sentence starters. The first one is the theme of the poem is, and then you enter your response there. And on stanza or verse, if you want to use verse, the speaker says, and then you list your evidence, which explains how, and then you list your thoughts. So hopefully, as you read through the poem, what I want to remind you is that I want to make sure that you're thinking about the purpose for reading questions. And then when you get to your short response, I want you to be thinking about how you can utilize these sentence starters that Ms. Gomez has provided for you. And that covers the assignment for Monday, March 30th. Our next assignment for Tuesday, April 1st, we are working on prepositions and prepositional phrases. So for Tuesday, you should be working out of page 21 and page 22. So as you notice, here on the top, they've already included an introduction for you on what prepositions and prepositional phrases are. What I want to bring your attention to, and I hope that you also circle it in your packet, is clue words that tell you what are some of those prepositional phrases that show how words in a sentence relate to each other. Some of those clue words are about, by, in, of, on, to, and under. Here, as you notice below, is an example of how a sentence has a given preposition and how we're going to identify the prepositional phrase. So for example, a prepositional phrase as stated here, let me read that definition for you, begins with a preposition, which we know some of those prepositions are as listed right here where I'm pointing at, and ends with a noun or a pronoun. So we know here in this sentence, the emperor penguins of, which I'm going to circle because this is our preposition. And we know that it ends with a noun or a pronoun. In this case, Antarctica is our noun, which is also known as the object. So what is being related here is how the emperor penguins are from Antarctica. That is what the preposition is showing a relationship here. Next, if we keep reading, spend winter on, and I'm going to circle that preposition, on the open ice. So we know that the object is ice, so meaning that this is our prepositional phrase. So what I'm going to do is how that ice shows relationship to the penguins. Not only are the penguins from Antarctica, but they also spend their winter on the open ice. So I'm going to draw an arrow showing that relationship here between penguins being from Antarctica and penguins spending their time on open ice. So when you scroll to the bottom, there are some examples here or some additional practice which I'm going to have us do together to set you up for success when you go on to complete page 22. So, emperor penguins breed in the winter. We know based off of our clue words that we circled up here that in is our preposition. And based off of the instructions, not only are we going to underline the prepositional phrase in each sentence, we're also circling the preposition. And that third step is we're going to draw an arrow. So we're going to circle the preposition, underline the prepositional phrase or the object. And this is showing relationship to how the emperor penguins breed in the winter. Who breeds in the winter? The emperor penguin. So we're drawing that relationship, that arrow to signal relationship. For number 2, female emperor penguins lay eggs on the ice. On is one of our words listed up here. So I'm going to circle our preposition. And I am going to underline our prepositional phrase. And it's referring to how on the ice, there's eggs that are laid by emperor penguins. So I'm drawing my arrow to show a relationship between the ice and the penguins laying their eggs. Next, for number 3, males watch the eggs while the females travel to the sea. We know to is our preposition. Our prepositional phrase is to the sea. And we know this is showing relationship to how the females travel to the sea. And then number 4, the warmth of the male's feathers protects the eggs. Of is signaling our preposition, so I'm circling it. And then our prepositional phrase is of the male's feathers. And then it's referring to the warmth that is in the male's feathers. And then our last example, the females return and provide food for the little chicks. So we know for is our preposition, and our prepositional phrase is for the little chicks. And we know that it relates to them providing food. So this same way, how we have circled the preposition and underlined the prepositional phrase, you're going to then draw the arrow to show relationship between the prepositional phrase and what's being discussed in the rest of the sentence. So I want you to now practice using page 22 to be able to work on this independently. So you have questions 1 through 5, and you're going to practice exactly like we practice. And remember, in this case, it actually provides you multiple choice, so it does look a little different than how we used it and worked on it before. But know that you're having to identify the prepositional phrase in each sentence. So make sure that you work through that for Tuesday, April 1st. Next, for Wednesday, April 2nd, you are working on Anna's Monsters, which it's a continuation of working on identifying theme within a poem. So I have identified some questions on here that I need you to be thinking about as you read this poem out loud. So some of those questions are similar to those that I provided you to use for Monday's assignment, but I've also added one additional question on here for you. So these were the same questions that I gave you for Monday's assignment. So you're going to continue thinking about these questions as you're reading. You want to be asking yourself those questions. But I also added one of the questions down here as your purpose for reading, because this question is going to be covered in the activity that you're going to have to complete for this poem. And that question is, what is the speaker's message on fears? So what is the speaker thinking about in regards to fears? What is it that they are communicating with you in regards to that? Because you're going to have to answer 4 different questions, and we want to make sure that you're set up for success. I'm going to read you the question that's in the packet. Which statement best summarizes the speaker's message about fears? So that is why I've set that as a purpose for reading. So as you're reading the poem, I want you to be thinking about that and asking yourself some of those questions. And that covers assignment for Wednesday, April 2nd. So as you identify the reading, know that there are 2 pages, pages 23 and 24. You're going to read that poem, be thinking about the questions that I have on here for purpose for reading, and then you're going to complete the 4 questions that are listed on page 25 and page 26. Moving into Thursday, April 3rd, your assignment is to read poem Summer Night. Once you read the poem Summer Night, you're going to have to respond via writing. And this is exactly how you, the same assignment that you did for Monday. However, obviously the poem is different. So what I did on here for you is I included the same purpose for reading questions, because those purpose for reading questions help you identify the theme of a given poem. Once you go through the poem and go through these questions, I have also provided you some sentence starters to be able to help you generate your short response. Now, the first 2 questions align specifically with the topic. And the reason why I included those sentence starters on there is in order to identify the theme, you first have to identify what it is that the speaker is talking about in the poem. Next, what I did in the bottom here, I included some sentence starters that will specifically help you with the theme of Summer Night. So you'll begin with, the theme of the poem is blank. On stanza blank, the speaker says, and this is where you include your evidence from the text, and it's in quotation marks, because if you're taking it directly from the text, it's a direct quote, which explains how, and this is where you elaborate on what the speaker is saying and what it means. This is your opportunity to explain how the evidence ties back to the theme. And then lastly, you'll add a sentence about how the speaker reflects on the universe. What is it specifically that this speaker is saying about the universe as you read Summer Night? And I want to draw your attention specifically to verse 12. So verse 12 is very important. So as you read through the poem, make sure that you have your pencil ready for annotations, specifically on verse 12, because that is when the speaker actually reflects on the universe. And that covers the assignment for Thursday, April 3rd. For Friday, April 4th, the assignment is a little different, simply because this is an opportunity for you to practice language standards. So you're not only going to read the passage that's on page 29 and page 30. Following that, you're also going to respond via multiple choice to 4 questions. So you're going to read 2 pages and then respond to 4 questions for Friday's assignment. And those questions are specifically focused on answering questions and selecting the response that is grammatically and correct. So using correct punctuation which is again tied to language standards. So you're going to read through the passage and note that this passage includes errors, and they're including those errors to trick you. So make sure that when you're going through your multiple choice questions that you are responding and making sure that your answer is correct grammatically. Next, something that I wanted to point out to you is question 25 is having you respond in writing. So I wanted to make sure that you were aware that you actually have to rewrite the sentence correctly. So we know that there is an error in this sentence here. So what you are going to do is you're going to respond in writing here by rewriting this sentence correctly using the correct verb tense. And that actually covers all of the assignments from Monday through Friday for this week. Remember, students, we are here to support you. We will have our staff calling on Mondays and Fridays to provide additional support if needed. Just a reminder, don't forget to come for grab and go lunch between 11 and 1. We'll see you soon.